Right, so welcome back to the show now. Let me introduce my guest because we've already started the conversation. So let me introduce them. We have Clara Kasati, lawyer, lecturer, Gimpa Law School. Good morning to you and welcome to the show. Also, we have Mr. Kojon Safo-Poku, energy expert, joining us this morning. Welcome to the show. And the CEO of City FM, Mr. Samuel Atamensa. Good morning to you and welcome to the show. Thank you. All right, then. So Daily Guide says, NPP fights back over SA security couples. The Ghanaian Times newspaper says gruesome murder, jilted man rapes and kills girl, slashes others. And NPP denies wrongdoing, NDC, PNC fire back. And Zaneso's application thrown out. And Nyakrom chiefs ban gambling. The Daily Graphic newspaper says horror at Shreso. A man kills girl 17 after raping her. And Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire to set up border checks. And we invited South Africans, NPP. I was never heard, and lawyer Quante says about the petition against Justice J. The Business and Financial Times says government pays ECG 180 million cedis as demanded by MCC, the Millennium Challenge Compact, yes. And also, the final newspaper says scramble for ECG. Companies interested in concessions jumps to 42. And terror threats, Ghana Gas tightens security. And 3 SA nationals are not national security threats, and that's the NPP. All right, the rest of the papers. Ghana has no public-private partnership as a transporter. Equip Ghana Customs, La Maritime, and the General Telegraph says arrested South Africans were training NPP security men. So it's the same story that's running through them. So that's what we will start off with and look at, how the various papers have captured it. Yesterday when news broke, my guest here was very cautious. In fact, we decided not to go into it because they wanted to wait and see, what comes out of it. Especially when I think Nana Akufo-Addo's name came up in the conversation. So my guests were like, until, the party comes out. And indeed, the party has come out to give reasons. Let me pick your general thoughts on it, if you follow the conversation on the 3 men who are in. The NPP says, indeed, they brought them in because they provide VVIP security to protect, I think, Nana Akufo-Addo, Dr. Baumia, and the like. Let me pick your general thoughts on it. Okay. And what you think security, whether it should end there or security should probe further.
No, I think that when it comes to these issues, of course, I can understand the PR angle, the public relations angle, the need for the political party, since it has been mentioned, to clear the air and then at least defend its image and its reasons. But at the center of this, we have to recognize the era we are at. There are terror attacks everywhere. There's general fear. There's general terror in the system. It makes people want to take security a bit more seriously. I think the real issues are straightforward. One, have they breached any law? Have they breached any law? If they haven't breached any law, have the people who arrested them breached any law? We can deal into those issues. In Ghana, we have laws. And our laws, we have regulated areas. Security is one of them. For example, if you have a banking license in South Africa or a banking license in the UK, you just can't come into Ghana and start operating a banking business. You need a license from the Bank of Ghana to be able to operate a banking business. So the question is, what are the laws with respect to training people in security? Have those laws been breached? I think this should be looked dispassionately at, irrespective of who is involved. At the end of the day, if no law has been breached, the necessary apologies, and if the persons arrested feel aggrieved, the law provides for reliefs for them. They go for those. If a law has been breached, then of course the necessary charges should be made. I'm sure the security agencies realize that they can't hold them without a charge beyond a certain period. So yes, the relevant charges are preferred if a law has been briefed, and then the legal system deals with it. This is very important for us as a country, also because of our image elsewhere. We do not want to send the message across to the world that we are a country that just talk about anything and nothing, and that we make mountains out of molehills, or that when laws are breached, depending on how you look at it, we will not do anything about it. So I think that this is a period where we should allow the state institutions to work, and dispassionately. Okay. At the end of the day, what is important is, did anybody, whether the security agencies that arrested the people, or the people themselves, did they breach any law? I think that is what is at the center of all of this.
Okay, right. Mr. Samuel, yours as well. About question.
I'm not sure I have anything to add.
Okay.
Because she just spoke in my mind.
Okay.
We are, guided by law, rule of law. This is not something that we have been confronted with as a nation before. If it has happened, it didn't come to the limelight in this manner. So we have laws, let the laws take their place. But for me, it begs a certain question of what kind of security we provide to our opposition leaders or minority leaders, as is done in other jurisdictions where the state provides security. So if we can get into that question of how we structure the security for these persons, I am sure that is going to minimize some of these, the need to get extra help from other jurisdictions. But as she said, look, whatever the law says, let's go with it.
Okay, all right. Mr. Kojesa, you followed it?
Well, very well.
Okay,
and I've even done a bit of background
research,
into it, and then let's educate the people a little bit. You see, there is an LI, which is LI 1571, okay, which establishes the authority which license security companies. We have so many security companies in the country. Now, under the Act, it allows the security companies to train armed and unarmed security guards, okay? Now, like my sister said, has a law been broken? The 3 gentlemen that has been arrested, we are told that they were brought in by Delta Security. The issues at stake that I think the national security should investigate is that when they were applying for their visas into the country, did they state the intent with which they were coming into the country? If indeed Delta Security invited them and gave them the letter of invitation to come into the country, then from what we are being told, they came in to work for Delta Security.
Okay.
If Delta Security is seen training people in whether armed or unarmed combat,
okay,
it's not against the law, because even to get registered, before the Act registers you as an armed guard, you should have passed a certain management course and training course. So the Act even allows the security companies to train you before, when the authority is convinced that you have undergone the proper training and acquired the proper certificate, then you are now registered as a security guard, armed or unarmed, okay? So the issue is that, to me, what baffles me is how national security is investigating an issue as sensitive as this. And all of a sudden, excerpts of their interrogation is in the press. Okay. Excerpts of how certain things they got are in the press. I think if they wanted to do proper investigation, all we need to know is that 3 people have been arrested, XYZ.
Sure.
Then they do the investigation. You investigate as in, they applied for visa in South Africa.
Sure.
You can get their application in South Africa. What do they say they were coming to the country to do? As they came in, for the cards they fill at the port, that card only tells you whether you are coming in, you're a resident, business, family, or whatever. So if they come as a business, they will take business. Sure. So that one is not nothing to go by. But to me, training a security company, training a bunch of people, if you go to Abelempe right now, early morning like 5 o'clock, you see the security companies taking their employees through military drills. Okay, nobody has gone to arrest anybody. Sure. It is just that we are in very uncharted territory where some people see 3 foreign-looking people training somebody in a compound and the security is alerted. That is good. It means that as a country, we are aware that if we see something suspicious, we should report it. But I think that the security agency should have done an in-depth investigation before releasing information to the press. Because for all you know, we would have investigated and found out that, look, they were invited by Delta Security. They said they were coming in to do XYZ, and there's really nothing that they've done wrong. But now we have put it in the public domain. It's all of a sudden turned into an MPP NDC conversation, because people think that, oh, they were providing security for MPP. The NDC grassroots will condemn it. MPP grassroots will uphold it. What have we achieved? Really nothing. So to me, I think the investigation should have been done, looking at the law that exists, because the law allows companies to do this kind of things, and take it from there. If no laws have been broken, then if they came in under false pretense, basically they came in to say, we are coming to sell tomatoes, they are trading security, then deport them. But in terms of the law being broken, the security companies, if indeed it's true that they were brought in by Delta Security, then they're allowed to do that.
Okay, all right. Even outside of it, I mean, like you mentioned, yes, the NPP issued a statement yesterday, and I just want to, I think Perry Okujeto, was interviewed. He spoke on a number of platforms here, but where he mentions that, the men have done the security operatives of the party. There was nothing untoward about that. We are training our security people to be able to engage in crowd control and to protect the flag bearer. I mean, some of these reasons, some believe that this is something that our security could have done. So that's why people are doubting the intention. I mean, are those legitimate concerns?
No, as for the justifications, it is to be expected. But I don't think that at this stage we are taking justifications either from the NDC or from the NPP. Sure. There is a state institution which is tasked with, which has that responsibility. I'm pretty sure that we probably don't have all of the information, because I don't expect that the security would share all of the information with us at this moment. It might take time, I don't know. But the point is, let the investigations be done. At the end of the day, then the public should be informed appropriately. For example, whether a law has been breached or not, you can't provide justification. For example, you can't say that, oh, I don't have a job, that's why I've done A, B, C, D. Okay. If a law has been broken. Okay. So at the end of the day, it's not really whether or not they were training the NPP security details. So is it okay? The fact is, can anybody, maybe foreigners, come into the country under the circumstances and train anybody?
Okay. So I wanted to come private. So I wanted to come to that, because here they spoke to a security expert and a lecturer at Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Center, and he says that it is illegal for an ex-soldier, right, to go into another country without the clearance of the Interior Ministry. So that would be a clear violation then.
Are they ex-soldiers?
That's what it's.
I think one of the
ex-policemen.
So like I said, I think that
they are not military. They are police.
And police, they are totally different things.
At this point, I think that at least the investigations should be done. If a law has been broken, it should be spelled out. But the point I'm making is, we can't say that because they were doing they were training maybe security for ABCD, then it is not a problem. Whether or not it is a problem depends on what our laws say about who can train whom.
Okay, all right. What do you make of, I mean, the political parties are taking, obviously, I've heard, I mean, PNC, the NDC are all getting, and so we're not dealing with the legality bit, but now we're looking at the peripheral issues.
That's unfortunate.
That's the peripheral
what
issues.
I'm saying is that, look, national security, look, we live in a country where I want to digress a bit.
Sure, go on.
6 March. We all have this problem of errors in a book. Up to today, nobody knows the company that printed those books. Up to today, no, I don't know. Do you know? We all don't know the company that printed those books. But all of a sudden, well, no, printed the company the printing press that printed those books. Do we know? We don't. But all of a sudden, the national security information, which is classified, is in the public domain. What the people when they were interrogated, what they said, is in the press. Okay. When yesterday, I mean, I thought you had when the BNI. There are briefs purportedly from BNI saying what the people, when they interrogated them, what they said. Okay. My point is that if we wanted to do national security, all we need to know is that people have been arrested. And that we are investigating. Then you investigate. The minute you put it in the domain, whatever points you are trying to score is negated by it being a euphoria as it is now. Because it becomes MPP and NDC. And when it becomes MP and NDC, it becomes entrenched. Everybody who is NDC will condemn it. Everybody who is MPP will support it. Which is not what we need as a country, because clearly now that we are getting a lot more information, okay, but it could have been maybe 3 suspected people coming into the country to train people for untoward. What happened in Nigeria in the South, okay, where boys who were not doing much, and then the local politicians were training them for security. They were the people who eventually became the militants. Okay, because they were trained by local politicians to give them work so that they will provide security for local politicians. And they, with that training, now became militants. So we should be careful on who we train and how we train them. That is very important. So yes, we should congratulate the security for moving in swiftly to arrest the situation. But my point is that they need to hold back information when you've done proper investigation. Then the newspapers will only get the information. When you go to court to present your case to the court, that is when everybody now gets to know the facts of the matter as presented. But now what we have is just to score political points.
And just,
just
to add to that, I think like you said, I think our institutions have to be professional at every aspect. It is the only way to win the public trust, because when you are seen to not be professional, it allows politicians to come in and then, I mean, spoil the discussion, because of course you expect them to take entrenched positions and each not to be listening to the other side, but each pushing their own agenda. I don't think we need that as a country.
Okay, Mr. Mensah, does this cut a huge dent? It's Atta Mensah, yes, it's Atta Mensah. Does this cut a huge dent on, our security?
I don't know.
In terms of their
You see, yes. We work in the media. That's what we do for a living. I am very reluctant to conclude that what I have seen on social media are excepts from the national security.
Sure.
I am reluctant because of what has been the trend lately. I mean, people manufacture stuff and says from Omane Buame's desk and all
even
these
yesterday
things.
happened. There were few of them that came out.
So I am reluctant to conclude that indeed those are interrogation notes from the national security. Now, having said that, if it turns out that indeed this is a record of the interrogation, then it begs more questions with our security engagement. Because, as you rightly said, this is supposed to be, and there are diplomatic issues involved. It's supposed to be kept at that level until we are able to determine exactly what the situation is. And then we can inform our citizenry and put people on the alert. Clara mentioned something about, the legal issues and the fact that whatever position political parties put across at this point is inconsequential because the law should be clear. Now, you see, this is politics. This is politics. And politics has substance and it has form. On one network, on one radio station, I heard an NDC person talking about MPP bringing in terrorists. And these are terrorists, they are here to destabilize the country. And so when I hear the MPP person trying to explain, I think it sits well with me that, okay, before one side starts throwing dust, the other side, who is the victim, should also make an effort. And I think that is okay. But I agree with you that that does not take away the issue of its legality. So we as citizens should just be patient so that this thing will go the long haul of our security system, and then we'll be informed of what happens. And I think there's no cause for alarm. Okay,
but then the other part of the question I wanted to get from you has to do with the capacity of our local police. I mean, if somebody, for instance, initially, earlier you mentioned about protection for opposition parties, for instance.
I do not think it's a question of capacity. I think it's a question of trust. It's not a question of capacity. Nobody can doubt the capacity or the competence of our local police in certain areas. But you can never be sure. You can never be sure. And that is why they decided on Delta Security, who, from what I read, is a friend to the NPP. So if no law has been broken, then I don't see the point in the hula baloo.
Okay, same for you. Yes. Okay.
Let me add some. Let me read something small. You see, under the Act which establishes the Security Act, there's section 17. Let me read two parts. It says, no person shall be registered as a private security guard, whether armed or unarmed, unless he satisfies the authority that he has not been convicted in 10 years immediately preceding his application for registration. 2. No person shall be registered under this act as an armed private security no person shall be registered under this act as an armed private security guard unless he has, to the satisfaction of the authority, successfully completed the prescribed course of training in management and use of firearms. So there are laws that allows people, private security companies, to train people in this manner to provide private security. So if somebody is seen doing that, like I said, proper investigation would border down, like what my sister said. What are the clear lines of investigation?
Sure.
Did they come in under certain, what are their qualifications? Are they licensed by the act in this country to provide that training? Is that the Delta Security give their name to the authorities that, look, we are bringing in these guys in to provide, those are the lines of investigation. Then when they've done all that, they cannot
bring the national security
exactly bring it into the public domain. Then we can have a proper discourse. If not, it now becomes an MPP NDC matter.
And indeed, that's where it is. But Clara, I still want to stay on the point. You know, Mr. Samuel Atamensa makes that. I mean, there seems to be mistrust, really. Yes. So how do they win? What is wrong?
Yes, there is some mistrust in the system. I think all of us have contributed to that system, the system of mistrust. And I say all of that because I think if you look at how we built that mistrust, I think one of the attitudes is our phone call attitude. That when somebody does something wrong and you know someone in a high place, you can place a phone call. So at the end of the day, we create a society or a culture where you can get away with a lot of things if you know someone at a high place. Sure. And where, even where you haven't done anything wrong, another person just wants to persecute you. If they know somebody in a high place, they can use that person to follow, even though you've done nothing wrong, and persecute you to the nonsense degree. I think that is what has helped us not to trust our systems. I don't think, like he said, I don't think it's an issue of capacity. They have demonstrated time and again that when called upon, they are up to the task. The issue is, can we trust them to do their duty dispassionately, impartially, professionally? So I think at this point, maybe we need to have that discussion, or also that people probably will need to start filing a lot more complaints. But the security, the leaders of the various institutions have to start insisting on the right thing being done dispassionately, without fear and without favor. What you are required to do, you should do it, whether it is your friend or your foe. If we had that culture, the issue of trust wouldn't have been an issue, because at least you can trust that once the police or the national police have been assigned to protect me, they will do their job. And you would not have to fear that, oh, maybe my enemy has seen somebody to come and then under the pretext of protecting me, do something else.
I think it's the same problem that the quote, spy bill, the interception, packets, that's what it's suffering. It's suffering because there's a bit of, mistrust about the whole reason why we want to pass it. And now,
Why not? Because see, we are heading towards the spy bill.
Yes.
And if indeed the national security has a problem of giving out information like that,
why would
as we are seeing, on the assumption that this is coming from national security, then we are doomed. If your filler gets to them,
they will blow it.
Sneak it out.
Check the next Facebook page.
All right, so you will have the same on what has contributed to the mistrust.
Yes,
it's the point that they make.
We've not grown as a nation. Okay, and I think it is the element within and people trying to dance to the tune of their superiors to get promotions and all that. That is what, if the security agents, let them you see, there was this publication that, the national, as is done in the US, okay, the Secret Service provide to every candidate. In this country, if you give, they won't take it. Because they are scared that maybe you brought in people to spy on their activities. Because a national security person, or let's say if we have a similar service of what the Americans have, they would be the inner perimeter of the candidate. So Dr. Baumia or Nana Akufo-Addo, wherever they go, their inner perimeter security will be by the state. Now, if the state there's a mistrust, it means that they could probably implant people who will spy on these people and report it back to them. But maybe it's not so. But if some of these things are done and the security services are not able to do things the way it's supposed to be just because they want to please their political superiors, then it's unfortunate as a nation, because then we've not grown as a nation. 50, 60 years, almost 60 years down the line, we are still back to where we were when we started. And I've always said that this country, we have what is called a Benjamin Button disease, which is where as we are growing, as the ages go, we are getting younger and not doing the right thing.
All right. So what should the security agencies do? How do they win back? Because we need them. I mean,
you see, there are very professional people in the system. Let's not see, they are very, very professional people in the system. You've worked with them. You've been there. You've seen them. And
I've seen both sides.
Yes.
Oh, you used to work with them.
No, she does a lot of
you
reportage with them and stuff like that.
I thought you worked with them.
We should be scared. We should be scared.
I've met both of them.
You see, let me tell you, trust is won by if there are issues. I read yesterday that there's a radio presenter who made a threat to the life of the flag bearer that by some time he'll be dead or whatever.
Sure.
Where is that person? Where is that person? You know what I mean? Some of these things, if
you know of it.
I read it somewhere that there was somebody who made a threat and
that he would die by June.
Thank you. He would die by June, and the person
is it prophetic?
we don't know, but my point is that the security services, you don't need someone to prompt you to interrogate that person. If we sit here right now and make similar pronouncement about certain people in the ruling party, the person will be arrested. Because it's a death threat.
It's just an animal farm principle, man. 4 legs good, 2 legs bad.
Yeah.
You know, so they need to act swiftly on both sides and be independent in the dispensation of justice. Because basically, when you even arrest somebody, he's a suspect. You need to do your proper investigation, then present the facts to the court. It's the court that can now say guilty or not guilty. But the minute we are happy to just do the one-day front page story. And that is what has been happening in Ghana. Most anxiety is about the front page story. The minute that passes away, we realize that proper investigation rubbishes the story, rubbishes the case, and it doesn't even proceed to court.
Okay, all right. How does the security win back trust? I mean, you work in the media, and you've said on a number of occasions that even when people leak documents to you, you don't use it. And I find that to be refreshing. And for an environment that people are rushing to be first to do.
Not leaked documents. When we have leaked documents and we have basis to use, we use. What we don't use is leaked tapes, voice tapes. We don't. That's our policy.
Sure.
Because most often than not, you can't even justify the claims on some of these things. And the thing is, that when you publish it and you go to court, you can't say that is this person who gave me. You are the publisher. So that's why we don't do it. But I think that it's a generational thing. What the police as a service itself inherited from the colonial masters, and how we went through our revolution and all those years. You always have to kowtow to the government in power, and we speak with police people who, in some occasions disagree with what is happening, but they tell you that I can't come out to say it. And so you can understand. And it changes. We've seen both parties in power. It changes. When MPP is there, you have their own people up there. NDC is there, you have their own people up there. But question, is this serving the purpose of the nation? And we all know the answer. The answer is no. Should the security services, we demand a lot more independence from our security services. Should they, for instance, start looking at a review where they will now report to Parliament, for instance? That's a wild,
Sure.
Yeah, rather than reporting to the executive. I don't know, but something that gives them that space to operate, so that, look, when President Kufuor came into power, you remember the issue of the state providing security for Jerry Rawlings?
Yes.
He rejected it outright.
Yeah. It's true.
And even he did a container outside his house, across the road.
No, it's the police that put
police. They were across the road from the house in a container.
So, and why do you blame him? You can't blame him. And so, if you see that there's a flag bearer who cannot trust the system as it is now and will seek help from elsewhere, for me, I say, if the laws permit, so be it.
Okay. Then, when the tables turn,
they continue.
No, it will be the same security that will be there.
But the thing is this. The thing is, if I bring somebody from Russia to come and train my personal guards, how does it affect you?
Yes.
If that is all they have come to do, how does that affect the other person in the other party? It shouldn't. For as long as the law permits. That's all I'm saying.
Yes.
And our key reference, and I think we have a consensus on that here.
Yes.
For as long as the law permits, there shouldn't be a problem.
Okay, all right. No, I think you get the tail end of my question, but when the tables turn, because I've heard, I think DCOP people actually say that, look, if you see a policeman and say, we opposition police, you should fear that policeman. Okay. So that kind of thinking is there.
That is true. And like, that's what, just a point, before I come to a point, when I say be professional, it's not about your substantive duties as a policeman. I think they are very good, they are top notch when it comes to that. By professional means that being able to do your job without fear and without favor.
Sure.
As to, in your discretion, what you think is the best to do at that time. Sure. I think that is the problem that we have. Yes, like he said, of course, depending on who is in power, I always say that we have the same issues, the same problems. It's just that the parties change.
Yeah.
So maybe this time it is NDC saying this, and then when the tables turn, it will be NDC singing the other song, and we are always here. But we have to look at, probably we have to start looking at our institutions and how to make them really independent. By really independent, I mean that at least if we have the police as an institution, they should be able to do their work, do their duties to the government as well as to the citizens of Ghana, including the opposition parties, because they are all part of the Ghanaian society. We should be able to have a policing system where all of us have confidence that as the police are concerned, we can be sure that they will watch out for us, whether we are in government or opposition. We still have a long way to go, it appears, but I think it's something that we should start discussing and seeing how we can make that happen.
All right, moving on.
With the police, I think that, again, somebody like DCOP Awuni,
may he so rest in
perfect peace. I mean, exhibited this thing that we are looking for. I mean, he will speak his mind, do his work, and not care about whoever is in power.
Sure.
I mean, we worked closely with him when he was in charge of the Nima division, and then later when he became
Director General
of Public Relations. So we hope that other police officers will emulate the qualities and attributes of DCOP Awuni, and then we'll.
But you saw how he was treated. At some point, he couldn't talk.
Where? The man was talking every day.
But he became Director General of MTTD. And he was in the office.
No, he was speaking. Say you are not hearing. The man was talking. If you move him, you put him underground, he will still talk.
But you see,
no, but he gets it. Because there are people who stand and look. I think he had an issue. Remember, I think it was Niyama Ashite. Was it the election?
No,
he had to. I mean, there were like isolated cases. Yes.
I'm not saying that when you do that, people will clap for you. That's not what I'm saying. Right. I'm saying that even in the hostile environment, he still spoke his mind.
But what is so dignifying? Why is everybody now, our vigilante, what's his name? Our man who goes
Mr. Aminu. Martin Aminu
is a household name.
Yeah.
What is so dignifying than to be able to speak your mind and be sacked? What is so dignifying than that?
I think as a society, we shouldn't be, I don't think we should be encouraging people to speak their minds and be sacked.
No, what I'm saying, speak your mind, and then if it, stand for something. The reason people don't speak their mind is because they are fear of losing their job.
But, no, but I always say that society too, we get the things we reward. So, for example, if somebody stands up and speaks their mind, we should be ready to respect the person.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. That
we generally, it's not all the time we do that.
Yes.
So, at the end of the day, what is the point in standing up? Even if the people you are standing up, everybody is going to turn up against you. And yes, you have some people who are very courageous, but we should make this. We should aim at the average persons,
yes,
not the exception. So, as a society, she made an interesting point.
Sure.
To be honest with you, I didn't hear much about this. Is it DCOP?
Awuni.
Yeah. Until after his death.
Yeah. Really?
Yes.
Oh, he was so
like the tributes he got. I meant the praise.
Sure.
I didn't hear a lot of that praise when he was alive.
Sure.
I only heard the praise after he was dead.
It's always the case.
That's just being Ghanaian.
So the point I'm making is, we as a nation, if these are the kind of traits that we want, we should be prepared to give the praise when the people are alive. Let them know that we appreciate it, so that other people can emulate. If we gave this DCOP, if we made it very as much known as in life as we have done in death, at least other police officers would have a role model to pattern themselves on.
All right then. The governor of the Bank of Ghana, was it Monday or Tuesday that the monetary policy rate was maintained at 26, and I think a question was posed to him whether he should resign because of his in-laws' involvement in drug. Quick comments on it, Mr. Samuel Asemensa. Let me start with you.
What was your question?
I mean, is this something we should be focusing on to start with? I mean, Dr. Wampa's in-law involved in and whether he should resign. The question.
Well, I mean, you know, we like tales in this country.
Oh, I like
we
that.
just
I
love
absolutely
tales.
like that.
Question is, this is a mature person.
Sure, absolutely.
Whose daughter
Always-
is married to somebody.
Sure.
The person is involved in something untoward, and then people blame him. Why do you
Okay.
blame him? I mean, even if the son-in-law happened to be an armed robber, are you thinking that when he is going for his operation, you come and tell father-in-law, please, today I have operation? I mean, please, let's be decent. Let's
Thank
leave
you.
Dr. Wampa out of this matter, and let the Lord deal with the man. You see, it blurs our vision. The man is dealing with heavier issues of our finances and the monetary, whatever, Bank of Ghana issues. If his public life exposes him to that, I don't have a problem when people just talk about it, because indeed it has happened.
Sure.
But to now attribute wrongdoing to the man because of his son-in-law, I don't even understand.
Yeah.
Do you remember Atai?
Yes,
Atai had a wife. Who knows Atai's wife's father?
I know.
Who knows Atai's wife's father or mother? Nobody. This is a non-starter. We just like a situation whereby in the space of clamoring for news, we want to now bring in all sorts of people in this. Like my brother said, a matured woman goes for a husband, comes in, presents. Even if the father has said no, she would have married him anyway.
Yeah.
You understand? So what is it? Even if he said no, he'll have married him and not invite the man to the wedding. Because they would. Exactly.
Yeah.
He'll
Yeah, the wedding would have gone.
He'll have married him and not invite him to the wedding. Because you see, clearly, if you even go into the story, it is not direct.
That was not, of course.
I mean,
that
it's not his direct. So he's a father to the lady. Yes, but what is
even
it?
if
he
she were
he
direct.
was exactly. I mean, it's neither here nor
we
there.
have
you know.
we have weightier issues
Yes.
to deal with in this country.
I mean, if you want the man to resign, let the man resign. Hammer on his policies that maybe bring in the issues to the table and let's discuss it. That the man is not doing well.
just managed to stabilize the forex rate. No, we've got to bring some future.
Oh gosh. No, Clara, quick
In
comment
fact,
on
they
this.
have summed it all. I really don't see why Wampa is supposed to be monitoring who his children, adult children, not kids, adult children date, and they can decide to marry and not even invite him to the wedding. It's.
If he said
I think
no,
we
that
should
would have
leave him
even
out.
gingered the lady more to marry.
In fact, yes.
We should rather sympathize with the man that Charlie.
Yeah.
With all your wahala with Bank of Ghana, this one too comes into a family issue. I mean, you know.
All right.
No, if he had a business and the father, the son-in-law invested in the business somehow, blah blah blah, then that could bring a different angle. But he's not a businessman; he's just a public figure, mind his own business, and nobody can prove that the ill-gotten wealth of the man find its way into Mr. Wampa. So what's the problem?
All right then. All right.
I mean,
I
think
haven't
it
had the
started from
opportunity.
the English press.
Sure.
I mean, you should see the story. So biased. Every paragraph made reference to the Central Bank of Ghana. And I thought it was one useless piece of journalism done by whoever wrote that story. I think it was in the Daily Mirror, or, you know.
Or Mail. I'm sure Mail. I
one
won't
of
be
those
surprised.
papers.
Yes.
I said, what kind of
Daily
nonsense
Mail.
is it? You write
They carry the Scottish
British
one too as well.
fugitive,
Sure.
and then the Central Bank of Ghana, every paragraph, the Central Bank of Ghana. And I'm asking, what has that got to do with anything?
Do we even actually know the women he probably even dated in England and who their parents are linked to before this happened?
Anyway, I haven't had. I mean, I'm hosting you. I mean, this week I'm hosting all, but I haven't had. You know, let me get on Jacob Echeblamte, and I'm sure you knew him. And what impact you think that he will have? Then we'll go
It's
to
a
what
deep question.
and then
I think
and
Jake
then
was-
President Kufuor also talks about the fact that it's a moment for
Jake
people
was
to reflect.
a nice man that we all took inspiration from. I mean, we had opportunity to work closely with him because he was at the time managing Lintas,
Sure.
who were giving us business when I was at Joy FM. Lots of business when I was at Joy FM. And later on, when he moved into mainstream politics, we had occasion to. And so, you know, Jake has been the person that everybody, regardless of which party, would have something positive to say about. So may his soul rest in peace.
Okay.
I mean, I got the news very early. Was it on Sunday morning? Yeah, Sunday, very early in the morning. But I couldn't break the news because it was too heavy for me.
Oh.
You know, I mean, it's not the kind of news that I'll be in a hurry to go and break.
Okay.
You know, so when I got confirmation from Honorable Fritz Baffo and the rest, who Fritz Baffo's first cousin is Jacob Bichibilante, and you know, well, all we can say is so rest in peace.
Okay, what impact? President Kufuor spoke and said, you know, the party should reflect and probably win the elections for him. What impact do you think he will really have on the elections?
Well, you know, I am not so sure how the demise of a person like Jake, the correlation between and election winning.
Sure.
You know, it all depends on the conversations that go on from now on. You know, what Jake represented. I see Arthur Kennedy saying that he was a unifier.
Yes.
You know, in death you have all sorts of accolades, but indeed he was one of such persons who really. And Jake is a person, when you work with Jake, he really doesn't. He's so secured in his position and his role. He will give you all the opportunity and the space to do anything you want to do.
Sure.
That's the kind of person. So it wasn't difficult working with Jake. And so it's a heavy loss to the nation, to the advertising fraternity, and also to the MPP in particular, not forgetting his close family.
All right, then. Same for you.
I knew him from far. I didn't really know him like to work with him.
Sure.
We sort of, in 04, you know, he was in charge of the MPP campaign in 04. And most of the slogans that came out in 04, Foko4, you know, he came out with because of his background from Lintas and advertising and stuff like that, he was able to bring very catchy phrases and, you know, I mean, made the whole. So for me, I know that he was very good at what he does. We met once when he was the Minister for Tourism, because I worked with a minister before he became minister. Okay. So after he took over, I just basically had a meeting just once with him just to clear a few things that I have worked on in the Ministry of Tourism when he became the Minister of Tourism. That was the only time we met. But I know that he was a good person in terms of communication, and his skills, if there is still in the MPP, I think they will need it, because when someone like that passes on, you just need someone to basically replace them in what they do in the society.
Okay, and Clara, I want a quick comment on that. And I mean, Arthur Kennedy is actually he's quoting him here. You know, Jake, unifier in an era of divisions, Arthur Kennedy, and I think he says something in a tribute to Jake. He says, "My defining memory of Jake was when there was an outbreak of violence in Tamale during the 2008 campaign. While hotheads were urging escalation, he listened quietly. Then he answered the sentences. I did not get into politics to cause pain and suffering. I know firsthand the toll of politics. We need to calm things down." I mean, those are the kind of words you want to hear, even now as we edge closer into the campaign.
That is very true, because I think what I'll remember him for is he was very good at what he does. Like he said, I would always remember the 2000 campaign. I think he ran a fantastic campaign.
Yeah.
At least in his public life and the things that what he stood for. He did his best. What I would say, he's done his best. He served his country. Fortunately, he got the opportunity to serve his country. He served the best way he could. It's a loss to his family, a loss to the MPP, and a loss to the country. Others would have to continue from where he has left off.
All right, then.
One last point. It's amazing how when someone dies, like we said earlier, all the accolades and all the nice things are heaped onto him.
We should be giving them life.
When the man was alive, even his house, people will not let him keep it. Okay, but when he dies, the same people are now saying, he's a great, he's a this. People, I think we should appreciate the living more. then we do appreciate the dead.
Okay, all right. Then our final story, actually, the terrorist threat today were devoted to the NPP and national security and the state of our national security. But we're going back to it. Just quick comment on it and whether it's belated. In fact, Ghana National Gas Company has, in the wake of terrorist threats, alerts in the West African sub-region, has met with some security heads in the country to assess threat levels and map out plans and strategies to enhance a collective protection of the nation's premier gas infrastructure. What happened in Ivory Coast? When that came out. Oh, and yesterday, Brussels, of course, and you have the embassies. They occasionally actually issue alerts to their citizens who are in the country and the like. And then these come out. For some security experts, they believe with us is belated. Is that really the case, or we should be giving out information so people know that yes, indeed, our security are on top?
I'm not so sure about the options that you give me now.
No, I'm just trying to. I'm mentioning the various that have.
Elsewhere, I don't think intelligence information is announced to the public in that manner.
Sure.
And intelligence is intelligence.
Sure.
And what they do should still stay with them, because really, I don't need that intelligence for anything.
Because people panic.
People will panic, of course. People will panic. But thing is that, for me, all I can say is that at this point, we cannot take anything for granted any longer. Sure. Okay? Where I fellowship on Sundays, before you enter the church room, there's a metal detector thing that you have to pass through.
Big people church.
Whatever you call it. Whatever you call it.
Sure.
If you have any auditorium that seats more than 2,000 people,
sure,
we can't take it for granted anymore. Even funerals, even wedding ceremonies, because at this point, you don't even know the nature of the terror attacks. And they don't even need a reason any longer. You should just be in the line of sight. And so we just pray that our security and intelligence people will be up to their task. And again, let's not take anything for granted.
For granted. All right, then. Same for you, because when the Ivory Coast incident, for instance, happened, and the news came out later that the presidency had met with national security. I heard a lot of the security experts say it's belated. We wouldn't know what goes on behind the scenes. Maybe this is what they've put in the public domain. It doesn't mean that nothing goes on in there. Yeah. So how should people, treat such information? And
absolutely, I think that even as public too, we have to respect the intelligence space.
Sure.
We have to respect the fact that the intelligence cannot come running to us with every little information that they have.
Sure.
There's a lot of work that they are doing behind the scenes. I think what at this time we need to be doing is, of course, we should have confidence in our security and urge them more to do a lot of work. Also, there should be education on the public for their own personal security. I'm sure when 9/11 happened, it was something far away. After all the other terrorist attacks that happened, it was something far away, but it's very close now. Ivory Coast, Burkina Faso, just recently. So now, I think a lot of people, there is general terror, understandably. So yes, I think there should be more education in the media and other places as to how where people should report to if they find suspicious activity, how general training about personal security, what people should do, or how they should protect themselves.
Okay.
Something.
All right. When they happen, and for instance, our president, says we stand by this, we are in solidarity, some says some people are still talking about that. Is it out of place for our president to even do that?
No, it's not. We are in a global...
Yesterday, a lot of people said you're overdoing it, when
Brussels happened. If we are attacked, would we want people to stand with us or not? If we were the ones, I think we should put ourselves in their shoes.
Okay.
Because there's two sides to the coin.
Sure.
Okay. Don't antagonize.
Okay.
Okay, because antagonizing is what brings you in the line of sight.
Okay.
Okay, because these people don't really need a reason to attack you. But in the same way, don't go and give them a reason to attack you. Okay. There was a statement issued by the people who did the Ivory Coast attack. And the reason they gave was that the France involvement in Mali.
Yes,
okay?
That's what it is.
And that is why they are saying they are avenging.
Sure.
What is it that Ghana will do that will now let someone to think that, okay, Al-Shabaab or a terrorist group also will think that let's send a warning to Ghana.
Okay.
When people say Dufiasem, I don't get it, because we are in a global village and if something happens in Ghana, we want people to basically stand with us. So the president coming out to stand in solidarity with other leaders, that something like that has happened, is good. The other side is that we need the intelligence. The intelligence is not for us.
Okay.
Intelligence is for the intelligence community.
Sure.
They are the ones who go through the intelligence and decide what is to happen. Now, a bit on what we are trying to do with this spy bill and all those things. That is where you gather intelligence. Then if you think you have enough information on this intelligence, then you now get the right authority to allow you to listen into people's conversations and all that. So that intelligence needs to be gathered, and we need proper analysts to be able to, is one thing having intelligence, and there's another thing being able to put it together. In 9/11, like my sister said, the intelligence was there, okay, but they didn't have the right people to put it together. Various agencies had various intelligence. That is why Homeland Security in the US is now there, which now coordinates all the other agencies to now make sure that all information is in one place. So yes, the Central Region Command might have intelligence. The Accra Command might have intelligence, but maybe the National Security Coordinator does not have that intelligence. So we need to have a proper coordination of intelligence. So having intelligence is one thing. Coordinating it and acting on it is another. So I think that is where we should put our effort and start educating the populace to say, look, like we saw 3 funny-looking people training people, they are arrested. That's very good. Okay. We see anything on towards, you report it, let's look into it. If it's nothing, oh, sorry. Go, but at least let's be proactive. Okay,
so the president, for instance, yesterday said, I mean, just in solidarity, and says that we would not be intimidated. And that part that people said, oh, he shouldn't have probably added that.
The truth about the terror attacks is that the basic thing is to send terror. And I think for generally across the globe, the thing is to be, people are trying to show that in spite of your acts of terror, we will still not be terrorized, like psychologically. I don't think the statement is out of place. Like he said, we shouldn't put ourselves in the line we shouldn't go inviting an attack. But at the same time, we cannot ignore when other people are attacked, because in the unfortunate or unlikely event that we are attacked, we would definitely want other people to stand by us. If we abandon them now, of course, it's obvious.
Okay. All right then. Mr. Mensah, would you want to comment quick one on Mr. Samuel Atta-Mensah? I know, right?
Thank you very much.
I know, right? Mr. Samuel Atta-Mensah. I mean, did you see the president's statement yesterday?
Yes, yes. And rightly so. Why not? Yeah. I mean, there's only one president, and he owes it to the citizenry to reassure us of our safety. Today, David Cameron is chairing an emergency meeting on Brussels with UK security chiefs. You know, he's not going to sit and say that, well, it happened there, so let me keep quiet. In any case, look at Ghana as we stand now. Do we have the resources to fight terrorism if we don't get help anywhere else? So it's important to identify with the powers that be, so that, touch wood, if it happens to you, you get somebody to help. Now tell me, did Alassane Ouattara make any statement in public that invited the people there? No. Yeah, so keeping quiet is not a panacea to anything.
And it's not even the result of what they did. It's a result of what France did.
So colony, can you imagine?
Exactly.
I mean,
it's a result of what France did.
So we when I go to church, every time, in fact, there's a program going on in my church. The first thing is, let's pray for Ghana. Okay. Let's pray for Ghana. Yesterday, let's pray for Ghana. So, you know, people are also praying because we believe that prayer will do something. Because we don't have the money that America has. So what we have, silver and gold, have we none. So we can only pray and trust God. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, when it comes to terrorism and listening to security experts, I mean, their main concern for Ghana is this, that yes, it's happening. We can support people in other form, logistics, but we do not put boots on the ground. I mean, that has been the constant.
Boots on the ground is what's going to get you in trouble.
Yes, yes.
You see, if let's say in Somalia, you know, Ghana was supposed to send peacekeeping to Somalia. We didn't. because I think the security at that time felt that to go to in other peacekeeping, you can just send troops and UN gives other things. You don't really need, but in Somalia, the security report was that if you're going to go to Somalia, you should go prepared because there the likelihood of engagement is higher. So we didn't go to Somalia. If we had gone to Somalia and Al-Shabaab feels that Ghana is interfering,
they quickly owned that.
Yes, I mean, if Al-Shabaab feels that Ghana is in Somalia doing whatever, you know, they feel a reason, then we should be in the line because we are interfering. So yes, we have a duty as a country to do some of these things, but at the same time, the back end is what we should look at. Protect ourselves and have the right intelligence.
Okay, but I'm actually wondering, you know, how you get to do that in that space where when we had the what was it called, the ex-detainees from Guantanamo. People said, oh, so if I want to remember the exact, you know, the person who said that. Okay, so if President Obama had called President Akufo and said that, you know, we want to give you. That. You said, oh, you did. Thank God you're here.
I said
would he have said no?
Yes. If Obama picked up the phone and said, would he
have said?
Would have said no?
Would he have said okay? All right. Would he have said no? So in this case, right, you're supporting them with logistics. I mean, for how long can you continue to do? At what point can the country? Yes, you're independent, but at some point, some influences come in that you just can't help it. So. It's such a difficult situation.
I think, you take it one day at a time. When you get to the river, you know how to cross. And until we get there, you know. Look, that's bringing up the Gitmo people was an unpopular decision.
It was.
I mean, unpopular across board. But it's a decision that the president was convinced that he had to take. And he took. That's leadership. I disagree with him. People disagree. But he showed leadership. And that's okay. We are a bit cautious what the repercussions are. And that is why we have complained. If nothing happens, we will thank God. And he will be justified in taking that decision. If something happens, he will go down with it. That's all leadership is about. But where we are in terms of threat levels, if what I see in the media as the caution by US authorities to their citizens.
They do that periodically.
You know, I'm just saying, I see in the media, I haven't heard from any authority that if it is true, then it may be more serious than we think. If what we are reading, that they are being cautioned about Ghana, if it is true, then it may be more serious than we think. I mean, they can't tell us the full details as citizens. I'm sure the security and intelligence people would have fuller details. I mean, look at Brussels. They knew before it happened.
Yes. Oh, that's what they said yesterday. The Brussels. Yes, they said that they knew it was going to happen. They just didn't know when.
And if you know it's going to happen, you don't know when and where. It means you don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. If you knew it was going to happen, how come you couldn't stop it?
Oh, they knew the threats were pure and imminent. Because you see, the Paris happened. The people who did the Paris thing went to Brussels. They were in between Brussels and Paris. Okay. There's some of the guy was arrested 2 days ago. And then when he was arrested, I think the other cells felt that, look, since he's been arrested, he might give in to the other cells, so there will be a swoop. So they now acted on those things. But I think it's just a matter of, like my brother said, prayer, vigilance, and just be careful.
Yeah, because, I mean, on that same point because the gentleman in question, I think when Abdul Salim, when he was his lawyers, you know, the security agencies had said that he was planning something. And look, just a few days after, that's just what happened. So we can never be cautious, can we, Clara?
We can't. We just have to, like I said, we just have to pray and trust.
But for how long can, for instance, our president, you know, stand firm and say, no, we're not going to put boots on the ground if the pressures or the powers say that, look, here we should put
boots on the ground where?
No, say money, we didn't.
At least, I think that is where we have to trust his leadership, that he will have to show leadership. That is where we have our intelligence and security. At least I expect that our intelligence setup would be able to advise him where to put boots and where not to put boots and what the likely consequences are.
But I think we haven't done badly.
We haven't done badly. I think we should credit ourselves.
Yeah. You know, nothing really happened. I mean, there are certain places. I worked in Sierra Leone and Liberia, right at the time when they were at the height of the peacekeeping. And I shared my weekends with the military guys. I mean, they weren't that busy, man.
Okay.
We haven't done bad.
Yeah, but I mean, the U.S., the British High Commission, I have read some of the, occasionally they issue those alerts. And when people see, they said those in the West African coast, I mean, including Ghana.
Yeah.
And people went BSEC, and they have every reason to.
Yeah.
But
it happened in Burkina, it happened in Ivory Coast. They are our neighbors. And like you said, I think the messages are periodic. I don't think it means it is going to happen or it will not happen. There's not very much that we really can do at this stage.
I'm just thinking that once they caution their citizens, it means there's a lot more than they can tell us.
Okay. They do issue that.
Intelligence.
Okay, anyway, they do issue that as and when, when they gather something. So, I mean, I totally share with you too on that, to be honest. You can never be too cautious. Mr. Samuel Atamensa.
We say, inside there are things there that they won't tell you.
I know. I mean, so you don't go on a panic alert, like that. I get it. So, Mr. Samuel Atamensa is the CEO of CTFM. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Yeah, from Tamale.
Oh, okay.
Yes, the people of Tamale. Yes, on Heritage Caravan.
Oh, yes. I saw it on social media. That was
yeah.
Oh, that was beautiful.
And good morning to the chief of Tamale.
It's good to take the
wonderful people.
To take the station to them. That was beautiful.
No, we took over Ghana.
I know. I saw it. So welcome back.
I have booked you for next year.
I will go.
Yes, I know.
Because I don't know a lot of places.
That's a problem.
I know.
Since you are big on Twitter, what's this war between the British High Commission and Obinim on Twitter? There seems to be a Twitter war.
No, Obinim doesn't tweet.
No, but
somebody tweets on his.
Somebody tweets on his.
Yes, and there was one about some snake.
There's the British High Commission about how the British High Commission is apparently they said that he refused the guy visa.
And there's some two snakes appeared.
If he thinks that he can send him to snake, he will send him to bed and then go into the UK.
But as for the High Commissioner, John Benjamin, he will engage you. I mean, he's engaged me, myself. He's engaged OTAJ. He's very active. But when he comes, you have to meet him.
That's all right. Once he's not offending anybody.
Oh, he's good. I like him. I like John Benjamin. I like John Benjamin.
This Obinim thing has been overblown.
I like John Benjamin. I like engaging John Benjamin.
I think the Obinim man should be left to do whatever he wants to do once he's not breaking any law.
Okay.
For me, that's if others will get ourselves into serious difficulty.
Okay, a very big thank you to you, Clara Kasati, lawyer, Clara Kasati, and also Mr. Kojo and Safwa Poku, energy expert. See, I got it.
Yeah, thank you. You got it right. Today is his name that you're getting wrong. I don't know.
No, Mr. Atamensa, I know Mr. Mensa and Mr. Atamensa, and his is Mr. Atamensa, so you have to, Mr. Atamensa.
You have to be very polite.
All right. Good morning to all.